phone stops ringing as much. The invitations dry up. The friendships that once felt solid start to feel distant. You sit in rooms full of people and still feel completely alone. You scroll through social media watching everyone else seem connected, celebrated, surrounded. And you wonder what's wrong with you. Why does it feel like everyone is moving forward together while you're standing still by yourself? And the worst part? You've prayed about it. You've asked God to send community, to restore relationships, to fill the empty spaces. But the silence just seems to get louder, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a dangerous thought starts to form. Maybe God has forgotten me too. But what if your loneliness isn't a sign that something is wrong with you? What if it's actually proof that God is doing something in you that requires separation, stillness, and solitude? Because there's a difference between being abandoned and being set apart, and God specializes in pulling His most chosen people away from the crowd before He sends them into their calling. Scripture tells us in Hosea 2 verse 14, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her." God doesn't always speak loudest in the crowded seasons. Sometimes He pulls you into the wilderness, not to punish you, but because He has things to say to you that can only be heard in the quiet. Think about Moses. Before he led a nation, he spent 40 years alone in the desert, tending sheep, no platform, no audience, no recognition, just him, the wilderness, and God. That solitude wasn't wasted time. It was a formation season. God was building in Moses the humility, patience, and intimacy with him that leading millions of people would require. The burning bush didn't appear in a crowd. It appeared in a lonely, quiet, overlooked field. Think about Elijah. After one of the greatest victories of his ministry, he collapsed under a tree and told God he was the only one left. He was exhausted, isolated, and convinced he had been forgotten. But 1 Kings 19 verse 12 shows us how God responded. Not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in a still small voice. God met him in his loneliness with gentleness, with provision, and with a new assignment. The isolation wasn't the end of Elijah's story. It was the reset. Here's what your loneliness may actually be doing in you right now. It's stripping away every false source of identity. When the relationships quiet down and the social validation disappears, you're forced to confront a crucial question. Who are you when no one is watching? God uses seasons of loneliness to remove every voice that has been louder than His, every friendship that was subtly shaping you into someone you were never called to be, every room that was feeding your ego instead of your purpose. Galatians 1 verse 15 and 16 tells us that even Paul said God set me apart from birth and called me by His grace and chose to reveal His Son in him, not through a crowd, but through separation. It's building a depth in you that comfort never could. The women God uses most deeply are rarely the ones who had easy, breezy, constantly connected lives. They are the ones who sat alone long enough to know God for themselves, not through someone else's faith, not through the energy of a group, but through their own personal, private, sometimes painful encounter with His presence. Psalm 91 verse 1 says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." Dwelling requires staying. Staying requires stillness. Stillness often feels like loneliness from the outside. It's preparing you for an assignment that requires you to stand alone, Not every calling is a team sport. Some of what God has placed inside you will require you to carry a vision others can't yet see, walk a road others aren't ready to walk, and stand for things that will make you unpopular in rooms you used to belong to. He's not isolating you to hurt you. He's building in you the kind of spiritual backbone that only gets forged in solitude. Your season of loneliness is not your permanent address. It is a preparation room. And what God is doing in the quiet, the character He's forming, the intimacy He's building, the assignment He's clarifying, will matter more than anything you might have gained by staying surrounded. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not too broken to belong. You are being set apart by a God who is too intentional to waste even your loneliest moments. The wilderness has an exit, and when you come out, you will come out knowing who you are, whose you are, and exactly what you were made to do. If this message gave words to something you've been feeling, share it with a woman who needs to hear this today. Subscribe for more biblical encouragement for every hard season. And remember, God's silence is never absence. It's preparation.